Welcome to the Stories Unheard channel. Whenever you feel sad or lonely, or even just bored, our stories will help you get distracted, find motivation, and restore your faith in love. Sit back and enjoy the story of a lonely old lady, Angela Mayers, who found a new meaning in her life. Angela Mayers had been working as a teacher in high school for most of her life. Most students didn't exactly enjoy studying at that age, choosing to spend their time partying and socializing. Kids at that age could be cruel, so they often gave their teachers all kinds of nicknames. And Angela was no exception. She was very thin, which is what earned her the honorary title of Broom among the rebellious teenagers. But Angela never really felt offended by her students' comments and simply accepted that it was a kind of rite of passage for kids that age. She loved her job, and she was willing to put up with some discomfort it entailed. Unfortunately, everything comes to an end eventually. And so there came a point when Angela was asked to resign because a young teacher came to work at her school. "Well, I guess that's it. My teaching days are over," Angela thought sadly, leaving the teacher's lounge. The elderly woman had no children, and her husband died a long time ago. As it often happens with lonely people going through life's hardships, it was her job that helped Angela keep going. Deprived of her favorite pastime, Angela got depressed. She spent her days looking through the pictures from her past, reminiscing about the times when she was still young and full of optimism. The woman spent nearly 4 decades working as a teacher. Getting up early and rushing to school to start her first period was her routine, a habit that was hard to break at her age. Angela's body reacted to the change in her daily routine in a very peculiar way. In just 2 weeks after she quit her job, she started getting stomach aches. "I guess I should go see a doctor. It's been a long time since I got a checkup. I hope they won't find anything serious," the woman thought. As her symptoms kept intensifying, Angela decided that she could no longer put it off. The poor woman really didn't like hospitals and did everything she could to avoid them. But she no longer had a choice, and she knew it. Everything was going well until the moment when the doctor saw the first test results. At that point, Angela realized that something was definitely wrong. The woman didn't hear anything the doctor said after the word cancer. It seemed that her mind went into a defensive mode. How could this have happened? What did I do to deserve it? Angela thought with tears in her eyes. According to her doctor, she had 6 months left to live at best. Angela wasn't ready to hear such a terrifying sentence. For some inexplicable reason, she'd always been sure that she would live a long life, even if not the happiest one. Needless to say, the lonely woman was devastated. At that moment, Angela couldn't help but feel like the whole world was against her. All the poor woman could concentrate on was her pain and loneliness. Of course, Mrs. Mayers wasn't going to give up, but she didn't really have much reason to hope for recovery. The woman understood that given her age, she needed nothing short of a miracle to defeat such an insidious disease. Since the doctors told Angela that she didn't have much time left, she decided to get rid of her belongings that she didn't have a use for anymore. "I'm not going to need any of this soon. And whoever gets my house after my death will simply throw it all away. I'd rather do it myself than have some stranger go through my staff," the woman reasoned. She took a big bag and started putting all the clothes and shoes into it. Even though she was never really into fashion, she had quite a lot of clothes. That was mostly because, being a teacher, she needed to make sure that she always looked good. Moreover, she couldn't afford to wear the same clothes all the time, as she'd get ridiculed for it. With a heavy sigh, Angela picked up the heavy bag and left the house, heading towards the nearest trash cans. As she approached them, the woman stopped for a second to catch her breath, and then gathered her strength and threw the bag into the bin. At that moment, she heard some strange sounds coming from behind the nearest garbage can. She stopped and listened. Now she could distinctly hear a dog growling and the muffled sobs of a little child. "What's going on here?" Angela whispered. She slowly walked around the trash cans and saw something very strange. There was a large dog and a little boy of about 6 sitting on the ground. The boy was patting the dog, trying to get it to calm down. "What are you doing here?" Angela asked as softly as possible. The boy shuddered, then turned his gaze to the elderly woman standing in front of him. The boy kept quiet for a minute or two, pondering whether he could trust her with his secret or not. Having finally made up his mind, the kid answered, "We ran away. My stepfather is in a bad mood again. He wants us to get rid of the dog. But Buddy is so kind and smart, I can't just kick him out on the street." Angela looked into the dog's eyes and realized that the boy was right about Buddy. He really did look smart and very calm. It was obvious that the dog loved the boy. The animal seemed to understand how brave and kind it was of the kid to run away from home instead of kicking the dog out into the street. "Maybe you should go to the police." "Is your stepfather mistreating you?" Angela asked cautiously. The boy shook his head in response. The kid knew that the police wouldn't help him and his dog. "Maybe you could adopt my dog? I can see that you're kind. Buddy's going to be a great friend, I promise," the boy asked hopefully. Angela's instinct was to refuse. How could I take in a dog if I only have 6 months left to live? Or maybe even less, the woman thought. But looking into the boy's eyes, Angela realized that she simply couldn't say no to him. What do I actually have to lose? At least the dog would have a home for 6 months instead of ending up on the street right away, the woman reasoned with herself. "Okay, honey, I'll let Buddy stay with me. And you can visit him anytime you want. What's your name, by the way?" Mrs. Mayers said with a smile. The boy's name was George, and as it turned out, he lived a couple of blocks away from Angela's house. His mother, Judy Bondel, was basically raising the boy on her own, as her boyfriend spent most of his days at home, sitting in front of the TV with a can of beer in his hands. Angela couldn't help but feel deep respect for this brave young boy. He loved his pet so much that he was willing to risk his own safety to make sure Buddy was taken care of. As Buddy stepped into his new home, Angela said, "Let's make a deal, my friend. You'll behave yourself and won't destroy my furniture, okay? In return, I promise to feed you twice a day and even get you special treats on Sundays." Buddy looked into the woman's eyes as if he understood every single word she said. It even seemed like he wanted to negotiate, but couldn't exactly convey his thoughts. Buddy looks so happy. He loves your place. See how he's wagging his tail? It means that he sees you as his friend, George explained. Angela smiled and went into the kitchen to make dinner. She suspected that the boy was hungry, and therefore he wouldn't refuse a couple of sandwiches. Buddy also got his share of treats. Luckily, Angela had some leftover fried chicken that she had baked for dinner the night before. "Well, that's much better," the woman said with a smile. Angela enjoyed watching the boy and the dog, who seemed to be in some sort of competition to see who could finish their food faster. Angela never had children, but that day she finally got to feel like a real grandmother, rejoicing that her grandson came in for a visit and trying to do everything to make him happy. Rushing about the kitchen, making treats for George and Buddy, the woman completely forgot about her pain. It seemed to have disappeared as if by magic. Never before had Angela felt such an incredible elation. Having decided to let Buddy stay with her, Angela never once regretted it. The smart dog never violated the terms of his stay, which the sweet elderly woman voiced when she first brought him home. Buddy didn't mess with the furniture or bark for no reason. Moreover, the dog brought the woman her slippers, which earned him some special appreciation from Angela. The woman spent the next month enjoying her new routine. It now included walking Buddy twice a day and visits from George. Even though the boy lived at home, he came to visit Angela and Buddy every day. George liked playing with the dog, who was always impatiently waiting for him to come over. Surprisingly, Angela even seemed to have started feeling better. Her pain gradually subsided and stopped bothering the woman as much. Still, she kept a mental count of the days remaining until her impending death. "It's all thanks to Buddy. I forget about all my problems with him around," Angela said proudly. She also enjoyed spending time with George, who filled her life with the wonderful things that only kids can bring into it. Having met the boy's mother, Angela invited her to move in. Why not? My house is big enough for you and your son. After all, my late husband and I were planning on having children. But it wasn't in the cards for us. Judy Bondel looked gratefully at the woman who solved all of her problems without even realizing it. Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't even know what to say, the woman exclaimed. Angela smiled and caught herself thinking that she greatly enjoyed the company of George and his mother. She had long forgotten what it was like to have a real family, but now she seemed to have gotten a daughter and a grandson. However, the biggest surprise awaited Angela at her doctor's office. Lowering his eyes in embarrassment, the oncologist said something that made the elderly woman's heart almost jump out of her chest. Mrs. Mayers, I'm so very sorry. There was a terrible mistake. Your test results got mixed with someone else. You don't have cancer. You're not dying. As for your pain, it was caused by a minor intestinal colic, which is very much treatable. Angela just stood there and couldn't believe her ears. Not a day had passed that the woman didn't think about her imminent death. Now it turned out that she wasn't actually dying and could still live for a long time still. Angela thanked the doctor for his help and slowly walked out of the office. Tears froze in the woman's eyes, but this time they were tears of happiness. That was something Angela had never experienced before. As she returned home, she kissed George and gave Olivia a hug before sharing the exciting news with them. It's all thanks to you and Buddy. If it weren't for you, this miracle would have never happened, the woman whispered. The three of them stood in an embrace in the middle of the kitchen for a long time, while Buddy looked at them in surprise, squealing impatiently, trying to join in the hug. If you enjoyed this story, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to click on the notifications bell so as not to miss out on our new stories.